big welcome to those of you who've come today to find out a bit more about ShinyMind and actually the resource that is ShinyMind and how it actually can help improve resilience and well-being and our mental health in this current time, which is, let's face it, tough and has been tough for quite a lot of months now. So my name is Beck Howard and I'm the CEO and founder of ShinyMind, and I'm also a psychotherapist. And the aim of today is really to help you guys understand a bit more about what ShinyMind is, what support is available, and the impact and the story behind why it was created. And that's really to help you understand why you should go download it and use it and how it might help, but also to help you signpost it to other colleagues, the rest of the primary care family, to actually help them to actually understand that this support and resource is available to them. Because what happens generally when times are tough is our head goes down, and even though support is out there, sometimes we find it really difficult to even notice it's there. So we're going to actually bring the story of the app to life. We're also then going to hear from James and Anna, who are on the call, who have been using the app for quite some time now, to actually hear from firsthand, has it helped, has it not? Because I think it's really important to actually understand, does this work? Because if it doesn't, you wouldn't bother. So I think James is going to bring his story and Anna her story to the meeting today. And then to really help you understand what on earth is on ShinyMind, we are actually going to be bringing some of the work to life. And we're going to be looking at relationships, because relationships, when they work well, are wonderful. But when they don't, they can be awful and causes an awful lot of stress and anxiety, and helping us understand how we form relationships and how we perhaps are part of that dynamic and how we can shift it can really give us new choices. And so this session we're going to explore the drama triangle, is 20 minutes, but it's 20 minutes, a bit of a spoiler alert, which will help you look at relationships completely differently and probably forever. So it's quite impactful, but that's towards the end. And at the end, we're then going to give you the ability to download ShinyMind and also signpost as well to those of colleagues that you will have across the region too. So that's the format. So we might, as well as we're all here, get started. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about what ShinyMind is all about. So as I said, I'm a psychotherapist, and ShinyMind is a result of 5 years of research. And those 5 years started because my belief was that understanding ourselves was incredibly important as to how we might enjoy our lives. Because the most important relationship any of us have in our lifetime is with our own mind and body, but it's the one that we sometimes just really don't understand or struggle with. And yet, the reality is we spend more time learning how to drive than we do learning how to think. And it was with that idea that I thought, could we take psychotherapy and help people understand themselves more and actually bring it out to people who really needed support, who had the toughest kind of jobs there were. And it won't be a shock to you that we decided we'd work with the NHS to actually help those people who are doing amazing jobs day in, day out, but actually you have huge workloads, a massive amount of stress and a whole load of anxiety and burnout. So we created a resilience program to bring our approach to life. And actually, to date, we've worked with over 2,500 people across the NHS for intensive care units, A&E, primary care, mental health. And the results are consistent in that those people who showed up and did the program, only 6 people wouldn't recommend it. 97% of people felt more personally resilient, and 96% of people felt less stressed. So we knew we had something. And so therefore, wanting to actually help as much as we can, we wanted to share widely. We wanted to put the resource into somebody's hand 24/7. And so we decided to create ShinyMind, the app. But because apps can do amazing things, and you all have got apps, we wanted to actually create it to be the best version of support that we could create for people in the NHS and the wider sort of social and community sectors. And so we went and worked with a neurological specialist trust, the NHS in Liverpool, the Waldron Centre, and we co-created it with all levels of staff. Everybody had a voice to say what was going to be useful to them, what worked and what didn't. And what they told us was really interesting. They said it wasn't a surprise when they started to feel not well in terms of their well-being and their mental health and their thoughts. But actually what they do at that time was equally interesting. They were unlikely to go and put their hand up and talk to their HR support, even though their HR support may be wonderful. They felt that it was the stigma of having that conversation that felt they wouldn't do that. And equally, they wouldn't come and talk to me because as a psychotherapist, I'm way too scary for them to come and talk to until it's really bad. But they would try and self-sort. They'd try and help themselves. And they would find themselves trying to look for support on the App Store. And what they found there was not working so well for them. They found your normal mental health CBT pathway app, which felt more prescriptive, less personalized, quite cold, and actually create a stigma by having the icon on their phone. They also then tried meditation and mindfulness, the other end of the spectrum, and actually quite a lot of people find that developing a practice around that quite difficult. And sometimes with thoughts that we don't understand, quiet places and contemplation sometimes make those thoughts worse. So what they wanted was somewhere where they could have a resource that helped them understand themselves, to be empowered to build their self-efficacy, to understand this mind and this body that they inhabit and have, and how it interacts with the rest of the world. They wanted an interactive, personal, confidential resource that grew with them through life, that helped them ride this roller coaster that life sometimes feels like. And that's what we built. So if I share my screen, I'll just talk you through kind of what is on the app. And hopefully you can all see my screen. Everybody see it? Excellent. So we wanted to give everybody that sense of empowerment to understand self, so they have the power to shine, to live their best versions of their lives themselves and deal with the stresses and strains that actually appear day in, hourly at times. And so what we built is an interactive resource. So once you get the app, you will find there's over 100+ different interactive exercises to help you understand you and yourself. So here you can see the Masterclass area. You have things like the original resilience program I've just talked about. Getting to know me is there, that sort of building of self-awareness. And as you can see that in the next screen, what that will help you do is to understand your thoughts, and how you think affects how you feel and how you behave. So you can do an exercise called a mind detective. You can also understand the conversation that's going on in your head, which can often sound very negative with your inner critic. And you can help understand your inner critic and actually turn it into an inner ally. All of these exercises are evidence-backed. The reason why is because people told us they were time poor. People don't have much time. They don't have time to even sometimes go to the loo or grab lunch. And so what they wanted to know is if they're going to spend their time doing something, wanted to know it worked. So in every page, there is a science button. Click it and it will tell you why this will help you. This approach, interactive approach, works with helping you interact with everything else on your phone. So it interacts with your photos. Why? Because you're able to create albums of photos. The science behind that actually, when we look at photographs of those things or people or experiences that make us feel better, we have an instant 11% boost of mood. Simple things that help us build up our resilience and improve our stress and anxiety levels. And this helps people learn and grow these lifetime skills to improve their own personal resilience and help them take back control. There also is a section called the SOS button, and that is there from the home page to give you that support when a curveball lands. We all know about curveballs. And when they land, if you hit the SOS button, it gives you a whole range of activities that you can do within 1 to 5 minutes to help you regain control, actually to take a breath, to have a pause, such as mood baths. Us as humans love being in nature. It's called biophilia. And it's really, really good for us. In a busy surgery, in a busy practice, a busy day full of appointments, we actually don't sometimes have that time to get out into nature. But the science tells us just the sounds and the visual stimuli of nature will help us start to reduce our stress levels really quickly, even within 40 seconds. So you can choose a whole range of baths, whether it's bird song, babbling brook, or waves. You can choose whichever suits you. We also have the way that this builds as an interactive resources. People love learning about themselves. And as you learn through experiencing the different interactive activities that you have within the app, you then ask, when you find something out about yourself, what do you want to do with it? Do you want to store it for reflection day? Or do you want to just wash it away because actually now you know about it, it's no longer useful? There is science behind this. Is that people, humans, think of thoughts as real physical things, not just the moments of electricity that they actually really are as they pass over your mind. That's how we act upon them. So if you learn something useful and store it, you will go back to it and act upon it as a treasure, as a resource for you as you walk through life. Equally, if something is not useful, you can wash it away and the water animates over the screen and actually it's gone. And actually, cognitively, that helps you rewire. But we know, and I think many of you on the call will know, we cannot pour from an empty cup. And yet, so many of us, especially in primary care at this time, after so long of many, many months of excess workloads and stepping up and stepping forward to actually help, is that some of our cups are empty. And we also know that we are 75% more compassionate to others than we are to ourselves. So the question was, what could we create on a daily basis that will actually help people just to keep themselves in as good a place as they can? And that's why we created what is a 5-step, 5-minute evidence-based program called the Daily Shine. It appears on the front of your screen and you can actually choose to do it every day if you wish, or just choose to do it when you want, but it's there to remind you on the front of the screen. What it does is it starts to ask you about how you're feeling, and you can see that you choose images, smiley faces or less smiley. And then we ask you about, well, how does that really turn into an emotion? And we get you to label the emotion and then actually journal about, well, how are you feeling? And this is really important because this helps us start to become aware of our emotions. Very often we just move through life on autopilot. And after we think, we feel, and then we act. So actually we can end up acting before even knowing what actually occurred. By understanding your emotions and labeling, you engage your prefrontal cortex, your executive functioning of your mind, and it reduces the fight and flight amygdala response. And also then we ask you to journal. There's a really important reason why. By reflecting and journaling, we become aware of our thoughts and our emotions and our patterns. And actually people who journal live longer, are far more optimistic, and have better sort of health outcomes as well. After this, you're able to look at a short moment of breathing to actually restore calm, and then actually look at self-compassion and also gratitude, and then connect, because connection and health and belonging are so important. And again, those people we co-created the app with, the NHS, similar to yourselves, said they weren't going to get through difficult times on their own. They were going to get through community, being connected, through kindness, feeling belonging. And that's why we built in a unique community. And in Nottingham, you're building up, as ShinyMind is available to all of Nottingham's primary care family and wider into the community setting, is that people are able to connect and use ShinyMind to support each other as teams within practices. And what that means is that you can actually create your, connect with your friends and your colleagues, and then you can send them positivity posts. These are just simple, almost like handwritten cards you receive through the post, yet we don't receive so many these days. But actually, they boost us. These tiny moments where you write a message, choose a beautiful background and send them, actually, when we receive them, help to actually reduce our work stress and actually induce job recovery. And these just are tiny, tiny moments, but actually time and time again, we have people contacting us saying, I was having such a bad day. There's a lady that we spoke to, a leader in Birmingham recently, who was talking about how it felt so isolated, not being able to connect with colleagues, but just getting these simple posts in every now and again lifted her spirit. She felt connected again. She felt part of a team. Because belonging is so important, we've also enabled you to use the messaging out wider into your social networks through Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and WhatsApp to help you feel connected to friends and family. This we call people-powered positivity. It's teams coming together to support each other, and it works. And we know it works because we've been evidencing for the last 5 years, does ShinyMind make a difference? And in the first cycle of COVID and the pandemic, we wanted to go out and make sure that people were using it, it was helping. And what we found out is what we called a fortuitous accident, is that it was working so well with those people who were the guardians of our mental health, our GPs, our nurse prescribers, our psychologists, our psychiatrists, that they'd actually start to use ShinyMind within patient consultations, parts of it, to help patients who were struggling, and it was working. And so we got asked to do clinician-led patient trials, which we've already done cycle 1, and we've got proof of concept that it does indeed work. And you can see some of these stats in front of you on the screen is to show the benefits that this is actually starting to create for patients who are looking for support at this time. The other thing to note is that we found, in terms of evidencing how ShinyMind is retained and used in communities like Nottingham and indeed others across the country, is that there's no point having an app if it doesn't have any value. It's not just about usage, it's about, is it helping? And if things don't help, people don't keep them. And one of the most important kind of statistics around apps and how effective they are is, do you keep them after 30 days? And this just shows you that the health and fitness sector is currently kind of like at a sort of around 6%, and some global leaders are around 9%. But because we've built an interactive resource that builds around you, it's personal to you, it has your thoughts, your feelings, your learnings, your discoveries on it, as well as community, you can see that the retention rate after 30 days is way over at 60+%. Our whole approach has been about becoming a trusted partner, working alongside the NHS for the last 5 years to create this resource. And this is because we believe every mind is absolutely precious. You are precious. Each individual is unique. And this approach to being a trusted partner and evidence first has meant that actually the NHS Innovation Agency has looked at the rigour we have around ShinyMind and enabled us and actually given us proven innovation status. And that means now that ShinyMind is now recommended for wide-scale spread and adoption to support workforce resilience, well-being, and mental health. Here is some of the sort of stats and also just comments from people like yourself who are out there doing amazing jobs, and how they have actually found working with ShinyMind and how it has supported them. I'll just leave that for a second, just so you can absorb some of that information. And now you have, it is one thing for me to tell you this is the situation and this is how people find ShinyMind useful, but it is absolutely more important that you hear from people who've used it, that actually live in and are experiencing the same pressures that you are at this time. And that's why I'm really, really pleased and delighted to have Anna and James here today to talk about their experience. And so firstly, I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to ask Anna to unmute and tell us your story about how ShinyMind has helped you.
I'm Anna and I'm a practice nurse in Nottinghamshire. I've been using ShinyMind for probably nearly 18 months now. When it first came out into Nottinghamshire, I wanted to give something a go, just for curiosity really. Although I was using it, and I was using the daily shines, it wasn't until something happened to me that I struggled with, that I started using some of the other apps a bit more features. And really, what it is for me is through COVID, it's been really difficult to be in control, to be on top of things. I'm somebody who likes to know what's happening next, and will work towards something, and the goalposts keep moving, if it be that we can't get blood bottles or vaccine deliveries late, or there's cancellations and everything's moving around. Everyone's quite fraught. And I personally have found that really difficult. The app that the masterclass that I really like, it's one of my favourite, is called Being a Mind Detective. And what it is it's you write about a situation that happened. It may just be a conversation that happened earlier that day, and you come away thinking, oh, that didn't go very well, or you look into things and you think about it negatively. Actually, what it challenges you to do is actually look for evidence of, was it really that negative? And it really pushes you to think about things rationally, which is something that, you know, I need to do. And it's something that you can do on yourself. So if you were to say, have that conversation with a friend, sometimes they just happily agree with everything you say, or it may be they say things that you're not ready to hear. But if you do it through this app, it's you reflecting everything back. So you're coming up with the answers yourself, just with prompts. And I think through that class and through some of the other classes and some of the quotes, what it's really made me think about is, it's not the situation, it's your reaction to it. And for me, that's made me feel a lot more in control, a lot stronger, and able to deal with the next thing that keeps being moved.
Thank you so much, Anna, for your honesty and actually for coming to share your story with everybody on the call, and also across Nottingham as we post this live. So it'd be lovely to hear from you, James, for your experience as well. So over to you.
Thank you. Hi, I'm James Waldron. I'm a GP, work with the Training Hub as well, but as you can see, also in clinic today. So ShinyMind App, and again, I sort of was one of the first people to start using it a little last year. And it was certainly out of a bit of curiosity, but also realizing the increasing importance of mindfulness and sort of understanding myself going through, and realizing that as a person that usually kind of moves at 100 miles an hour, both sort of physically and mentally, taking moments to step back and be a bit reflective and a bit respect a little bit of my own headspace. And so I started using ShinyMind for that. And I must say that it gives you the opportunity, and especially in the daily shine, which is the thing that I use the most, just to take a few steps back, a little bit of time for yourself, which especially when you're rushing to get everything done during a day, you think, do I have enough time? Do I have enough time to actually have a bit of mindfulness time? Do I have a little bit enough time for actually to think about what's going on? And I found that using the app actually gave me that that opportunity. And the other thing I think I quite like about the Daily Shine, and I don't tend to use things as regular as I might, but I do tend to reach for it when I'm feeling particularly overwhelmed or particularly stressed. And that might be, that might be a few times in a week, or that might be a few weeks apart. But actually, one of the things that I found enormously helpful, and in revisiting the app recently more so, was actually writing down my feelings and about what I was experiencing on that day, how I was responding, some of my reflections. And sometimes I washed it away, and I know that there's something there that I wrote that are no longer there. But actually looking back and realizing that I go through these ebbs and troughs, ebbs and troughs of mood and of self-understanding is actually quite reassuring to me right now. And the thing that jumped to my mind was, and this too shall pass. I've had these feelings before, and now I'm feeling much better, and I'm feeling poor again now, but this too shall pass. So I find that really quite helpful, and the fact that I can leave the app for a while until I need it is, I think, really helpful. It doesn't force you to do something every day, and I think that dipping in and using it when it's most acute is a good way of using it. That being said, on sort of further exploration and looking at some of the other features, have started to think about what benefit I might be able to have from doing a bit of a deeper dive into some of the other features and some of the masterclasses, and having a little listen to the inner critic one yesterday. And I think that all of us in healthcare can be extremely critical of ourselves. And I suppose the thing is, listening to the content of that, I always tell myself I should read more. I should read more non-fiction books. Every time I do, I feel better about it. I feel like I grow as a person, but I also don't necessarily have the 12 odd hours to sit down and listen to it. These little snippets of a little bit of self-help it was eye-opening, and it really set off a lot of chain of thoughts about the way I approach situations. So I'm really keen to start sort of delving into a little bit of those kind of bite-sized things, which I think I could probably do as a podcast, and just to help explore other aspects of me and the way my sort of stress goes up and down. But yeah, so I think that's the way that I've mostly found it helpful. Dipping in is the thing I find most useful, and I love the daily shine, and there's something so cathartic in itself or therapeutic at least, of just going, right, these 5 minutes for me right now, the chaos around me can wait for 5 minutes. So that's where I am, and I'm grateful for it.
Thank you so much again, James, for your honesty and for taking the time to come and sort of share your experiences. And I'm really pleased, to hear that both you and Anna are getting so much value from it. And I think it's interesting is that people don't keep things they don't think are valuable, but actually to come back to the stuff that is. And I think people use it when they need it, and it doesn't have a system behind it that forces you to come and do anything. It's very much your personal protected, confidential space, which is all about you. So it's really good to hear, James, that it's helping at this time, which I know is so tough out there in terms of pressure. So let's take a dive into it. Just like James said, shall we dip in? Because actually, what we're going to do today is actually bring one of the sessions to life, and I'm going to spend the next sort of 20 minutes or so talking you through an exercise that is on the app. It is a podcast, and it's all about relationships. And that's going to help us understand actually why some relationships are tricky and difficult and do our head in, quite frankly, and others are super wonderful. We have no problem with them. And actually, once we've understood this model and how relationships work, then you're going to have different choices. You're also going to be able to have the chance to go back and actually listen it to the app and actually do yet more stuff around relationships to really help you start to change, start to make things better, to have different choices, to have a different choice on control. So that's what we're going to do. And as I'm going to talk through it, what I'm going to do is go through exactly what this exercise is, which is called the drama triangle, explain it, help you understand how you can use it. And then we'll take some questions before we end, and then before you get access to ShinyMind, and we'll talk to you about how you can actually spread it wider as well. And if anybody has anything that comes up whilst we're having this chat about the drama triangle, after we finish at 3, I will hang on the call. So if anybody wants to just chat anything through, I would absolutely love to help, because that's my whole raison d'etre. If I can help, I really would want to. So if you want to ask a personal question, stay on the call after it's finished and we'll chat. Otherwise, we can do a Q&A session after the session itself. So let me start to tell you about the drama triangle. So the drama triangle we're bringing into the room because ultimately, when relationships work well, they're heavenly. When they don't, they're almost akin to being in hell. And yet very many of us feel utterly stuck with some of the relationships, the more negative ones we have in our life. So to help us understand this, I want to bring this thing called the drama triangle to life. The drama triangle comes from a school of psychology, which is transactional analysis. And actually, transactional analysis is a really powerful way to help you understand yourself. It was created by Eric Berne, and he had a wonderful way of looking at the world. He thought that everybody was capable of change, which I think as a psychotherapist is a belief I hold and is a wonderful way to look at the world. But he had a proviso: to change something, you had to become aware of it. You had to move it from an unconscious pattern of behavior and to a place where you could become conscious of what was going on, so you could then have the choice to change it. Transactional analysis is a wonderfully powerful model of therapy, but it also takes quite a lot of time to go and actually learn it all. And so we didn't have years to get together today. You wouldn't have come. We only had a few moments. And so fortunately for us, a guy called Steve Cartman put the whole of transactional analysis, the essence of it, into a simple triangle, and in 1968, which he called the drama triangle. And so we can just walk around this triangle in 20 minutes or so, and the world will look very different. So that's what we're going to do. In the game of drama, which is this triangle you see before you, there are 3 roles that play drama out. And these are the roles that transactional analysis gave them. The names are from this model. So don't get so hung up about the names, but just think about the behaviors that sit in all of these different roles to actually help you understand yourself and your responses and your relationships with others. So we have a rescuer, a victim, and a persecutor. They all play different roles. They all play for different reasons the game of drama. The first question to ask is, why would anybody play in drama anyway? It doesn't seldom bring very much joy unless you're sitting and watching a drama on the telly. But this is very different drama. This is the stuff that shows up in our lives. So why on earth would any of us do it? Well, the thing is, we play based on our unconscious life script. We all have an unconscious life script, and that's created by the time we were 4. So we were well tiny at that point. We create it at a time from what we see, those caregivers who are looking after us, whether they're immediate family, extended family, or guardians, whoever has got the role of looking after us, we look at them and see how the world and relationships work. And that's a modeling piece. And we go, that's the way it works. Equally, there's a feeling piece in the life script. How do I feel as a result of the way that these guys behave towards me? So I add in my feeling and see what's going on, how people behave with each other. And that becomes your life script, unconscious. Now, the reality is 0 to 4, most of us can't even remember those years. So we are like little sponges, and we just soak it all up without actually questioning, is this what I want in my life script or is it not? And we get our life script, guess what, from those people who got their life script from the people before them and the people before them. And until somebody explains what on earth is going on, we repeat, repeat, repeat. So the unconscious life script we all have creates the energy to actually go out into the world and form relationships based on what we've got in there. And until we become consciously aware of how we uniquely do it based on our unique life script, we just repeat. We don't have that conscious awareness to change. So let's change that today, and let's start to actually bring that conscious awareness of what your life script looks like and how do you play this game of drama. How do you connect with people so you can have different choices? So once we've jumped into the drama triangle, we play out any of these 3 roles, rescuer, victim, and persecutor. They're all trying to get something from the relationship they're in. So let's talk them through. And as I talk it through, just soak up the words and reflect to self. Where do you see yourself playing? Who do you play with? What relationships are the most tricky, to give yourself a deeper understanding of what's going on? So we're going to take the rescuer first. So the rescuer is the superhero of the triangle. They wake up every morning and look out at the world and think, what can I save, sort, or fix? And then they go off and actually do that activity of saving, sorting, and making good or fixing. They obviously at first go into their wardrobe and pick out the relevant superhero outfit that actually suits the task, put it on, and they go and march off into the world to make this all better. But there's a reason that they're doing that, because by doing the activity or fixing, sorting, or resolving, they're doing it because there's a transaction. By that activity, they get something back. They get a sense of, I'm okay. It makes them feel all right. It solves that unmet need inside of self, which is saying, I'm not okay. The activity gives them something back. It returns a need. They're able to go, I'm okay. The issue here is that once they've fed what that is, which is a psychological hunger. It's not like when we eat a really great meal and we cannot eat again because we're so full. Once we've had it fed, we get hungry again really quickly. And so we need to do the act of rescuing again and again and again. And this is where we start to actually work out that maybe our pattern might be of rescuing, if we have one, might be actually a contributor to the fact that actually we have overwhelm in terms of our work. We say yes too often, we're doing too much. That might be some awareness you might get. But for a rescuer to get their unmet need met and to feel okay, they have to attract another person into the dynamic, the relationship dynamic, to even play this out. And so they attract this other character, this other person who's known as a victim within this model. Now, the victim turns up with the drama in the triangle, the problem to be solved, the situation that is awful, that they need help with. And so their emotional state, and this is an emotional game, is more of sadness, woe is me, I can't do anything about it, I need help. Victims create the need to be helped. And that allows the rescuer to hook onto them and do the act of helping for the rescuer to get their sense of okay, fed. But there's an irony here, isn't it? Because if the rescuer keeps wanting to rescue to feed their need of I'm okay, they're going to have to attract multiple people with situations that need solving into their lives that pitch up as victims. That's when the rescuer becomes exhausted. So let's talk about the victim. The victim, as we've just said, turns up with all the issue and the problem, and I need help. This is terrible. Come help me. You can do the helping, trying to recruit a rescuer to come play. The victim doesn't look at their own self-efficacy of what they can do to actually improve things. What are my resources here? Why? Because the activity of recruiting a rescuer to come save them and make things better feeds their unmet need. They're then also able to go, I'm okay. It feeds that psychological hunger. The more times they're rescued, the more times they feel okay. And that sets up a pattern, doesn't it, as well? So actually, the victim, by seeing the attention come through from the rescuer, enables the victim to go, I matter, there was attention, you solved it, I am okay. But for the victim to create drama, it needs to add the third character into this model, the persecutor. We need to invite the persecutor in, or find the persecutor to blame for the situation. So a victim can blame a person or a thing or a situation, can be the persecutor, the thing that made this awful thing happen to me that now I need saving from. And that creates the need and ability to be rescued by the rescuer. So the victim needs to, again, attract multiple people or situations like persecutor style people who actually can come and actually act as the baddie almost in this triangle. And this is where we start to see this pattern come to life, because you may well notice in your life space that perhaps you have people that actually present more in a victim way and tell you about all the dramas and issues that they have, and they perhaps have multiple ones for a lifespan as much as they've had. And that's because they're in maybe a pattern where they're needing to attract a bad situation or create a bad situation that actually allows them to be rescued. But what's going on for the persecutor, the person that the victim has labeled as they're the bad guys, they're doing this to me? Well, again, this person is also looking for their unmet need to be met through this triangle activity. What's going on there is that whatever the situation is, the persecutor is not necessarily up for looking at themselves as a part of why this has happened. They're looking to actually project their responsibility or their onto other people, to scapegoat, to blame. So their emotional engagement with the triangle is they come with blame, frustration, anger, and they're looking to actually make somebody else the scapegoat, the reason why this has happened, rather than looking at themselves. Okay, so they get their unmet need of feeling okay by blaming another party, which enables them to move up and go, I'm okay. Okay, and the rescuer does that too, because if they're able to save or sort out the situation, they move up again, don't they? I'm okay, but the victim isn't. But the victim gives up their power too. Everybody is giving up their power and responsibility. The victim behaves in a way that they can only be okay if they are rescued. They're not looking at their own responsibility to self, their capability to solve this situation. Everybody in the triangle is looking for somebody else to meet their needs. That is why you can see that the arrows go between each other, backwards and forwards. Do we play this triangle? Looking to find somebody that will give us what we want, rather than look to what can we do. Now, the game changes when we move out into the land of adult, this little circle with an A in it. In the land of adults, we take responsibility for whatever's going on. What can we do to solve this? What's our role? What's our responsibility? This is where we respect ourselves. Our voice and our value and our equity as a human sits in this place. Okay, that's how this works. Now, when we move to the land of adult, we can only move there once we've recognized that we're actually playing a game with people. And that actually we're part of the game, because if I am in that triangle at any level, I am keeping me and other people stuck. Once we notice we're in a triangle, we have the chance to move out into this land of adult where we are more rational, less emotional. We have all of our logical minds and our equity of self. That's in the land of adult. And a strange thing happens when we're in the land of adult. The game changes. Okay? Several things happen. Once you move out, the person cannot continue to play the game the same. And so the game changes. And this is where I'd like you to really understand that actually very often with difficult relationships, we think we're utterly stuck with them. You have more power around relationships that aren't working than you would imagine. And this, if I just give you a metaphor for how this works, is you will all have witnessed probably kids playing football or something like that out in a park. And at some point it's tea time and the person with the ball says, got to go home. And they take their ball with them. And the game can't play anymore the same, can it? With no ball, there is no football or basketball or whatever game. There has to be something else. And that's exactly what happens when we start to understand we are pattern playing and start to choose a different response in adult. You take your ball home. The game cannot play the same. And what happens is when you stand in the land of adult and you change your response, and you don't respond from rescuer, victim, or persecutor, the other person goes, oh my word, you've taken the ball home. I just don't know what's going on. And that will force them or make them become aware that they will move out more into adult with you, and you'll have adult to adult relationships, which are much more healthy. Or they might decide that actually they want you back. They want to play the game again because it was great when you did all my work. If you were a rescuer, they want you to come do that again. And so they will try and elevate the drama in the triangle to actually encourage you to come back and play. This game is a bit like Velcro. And this is why the reflections in the app are really helpful to help us just stop and pause and enable us to walk our ball back to the land of adult and stay in that space, as opposed to actually jumping back in and continuing the journey again around the triangle. Everybody in the triangle is stuck. Where change happens, where control is, where we feel happier and things are healthier, is in the land of adult. This is really easy to set up. And if I just walk you through how easy this can be to fall into this pattern, if I start a new job, I can start and talk to my team, and I can tell them that we want to be the best team ever. I'm so glad to be here. I want to support you. I want to do whatever. My door is always open. Here is my mobile, my personal mobile. If you need me, ring me. What have I set up? Anybody?
Rescuer.
Indeed, Anna. I've set up unconsciously rescue. Remember, this is an unconscious game. It's like Velcro. People that respond to that kind of pattern are going to notice it and they're going to fall in. And that will mean that within a few weeks, I might be inundated. There might be a queue outside of my door. I might have so many messages at the weekend. I am feeling exhausted. I can't get through. And that will push me down into a place of victim. I will feel sorry for myself. And I will sit there and talk about how this is awful. I wish I'd not taken the job. This is terrible. And I can spend an awful lot of time there doing that. And then very quickly, I might suddenly move up to persecutor and turn round to my team and actually have a go at them and tell them that I don't think they're good enough. And they can't obviously be good enough if there's a queue of them waiting for me to solve all their problems. And I might be really cross. And then all of a sudden I might feel, oh, whoa, that's too much. And I might jump to rescuer. And all of a sudden decide that tomorrow we all bring tea and cakes together and we have coffee and spend time together. What that does is completely flip-flop me emotionally, but also flip-flop my team emotionally. What we need to understand is in this triangle, if we are playing any of the roles, we are keeping the other person and people stuck. If I rescue from my need only, I am saying to the victim, you can't, you need my help. And unconsciously, that keeps them stuck. They're not able to grow or move forward or build up their self-efficacy because I'm keeping them in a dependent situation for my needs. The same with a persecutor. If I'm not able to look at my roles and responsibility in this situation, and I would rather actually through frustration, anger, and judgment and blame somebody else and make them a victim of the situation, I also keep them stuck. We're all part of keeping each other stuck until we start to notice how and why we play, how our unconscious life script is playing out and shaping those relationships that we have on a daily basis. You will have a pattern of how you play this out. Everybody does. And when you start to unpick it through doing this exercise on the app, which you can go and listen to in the Relationships Masterclass, and then you can dig into it even further by doing the Drama to Winners triangle, which actually helps you step out and notice your patterns. You'll start to pick up your similar patterns at home and at work. And that gives you the ability to have a conscious choice about keeping your relationships healthy. Another really simple technique that I'll give you before we'll open up to any questions or answers about this is to use something I call the NACH, okay? This helps you walk out of the triangle. N-A-C-K. The first one is notice. You might think, well, hey, that's not massively useful. Well, it is, because most of life we follow through on autopilot. And unless we're going to notice when something is perhaps not working so well, we have no choice. So first, notice. The second is accept. When we find ourselves in difficult places, we tend to fight them or get angry or cross with ourselves or others. Okay, so if I'm not going to be accepting of the fact that as a human, as a psychotherapist, I can fall into a drama triangle. It's human behavior. So we need to accept if I've found one, I'm there. If I don't accept it and get angry or cross, I am actually persecuting myself. Okay, I've joined a little drama triangle inside my head. So acceptance is really important. Acceptance creates a little path out from the triangle to the land of adult. The next one is choose. In life, we have choice. And that's the bit around relationships. There's more choice than you would imagine. Remember the metaphor of the ball. If you change, it will, some aspect of it will change. So choose to walk from the triangle to the land of adult that you've created by accepting that you're in one, or choose to stay. But then you know what happens. The last letter is K, kindness. Again, a con when we found a triangle is, I have to stay, I have to do this, I have to. They can't without me, the world will fall in. They are cons to keep us to jump back into the triangle. Kindness is a word here because it is not kind to play this game for yourself, and it's not kind to play this with others, because as we've just gone through, we're keeping them stuck as well as us. So if you feel yourself being pulled back through a con of I have to, it is kinder to you and others to choose the path and to land in the land of adult. So that helps you, is a really speedy walkthrough of the drama triangle, and all that it can help you understand relationships at home and work and patterns, and how you might start to change them so that actually those relationships clear up, are different. Because the last thing that's really interesting to know about this pattern is, I told you 2 ways in which people react. They'll either come out to adult and join in and it'll be more healthy and productive. They'll light a fire to make you go rescue, but remember kindness. The third thing that happens, if people's life scripts are so ingrained and they have no awareness they've even got one, if you don't play with them and you're in the land of adult, they will leave you and they will go and find another drama triangle to play out. And that's when tricky people, difficult people walk away and your life space becomes clearer and healthier. So has anybody got, at this stage, having gone through that model, anybody got a question they would like to ask? If they have, just unmute and shout at me and I will do my best to answer them. So we'll just take a couple of moments for anybody's reflections or questions. So now we understand a bit more about the drama triangle. You can absolutely go and revisit it, and in the relationship masterclass, and also do drama to winners triangle. That is so useful. That helps us understand our victim, to move into voice, to move from rescuer to take responsibility, and to move from persecutor to be proactive and assertive around our needs. Really useful stuff that you can use today if you've got an issue with a partner at home, or in 3 months' time if you've got an issue with a colleague. Now, as we're coming to the end of the session, everybody on here will get access to the app, and so you'll be able to download and explore. But so many people out there in Nottingham have access to the app but don't know it's even there. James and I picked up on this earlier before we started. It's not that there isn't a need, there is a huge need for support and resilience and help around well-being for people. And so this is really important that we get this support and this message out. So as well as you downloading it, you will have networks, you will have WhatsApp groups. Please, please share this resource widely. If you are feeling positive, you can actually use it to connect with colleagues and actually set this up for your teams, your practice, your organisation. And if you have a multiple load of people that you want to upload, you can email us at hello@shinymind.co.uk. We can help you upload a whole group of people, anything up to 100, 200, 300, depending on the size of organisation. We can help create that for you, if that would help. And simply, as James and I were also just talking about, it's a way of proactively saying, we'll give this support to you. If you don't actually want it, then let us know and you won't receive it, but then getting the support out to as many people as possible. Okay, so absolutely, thank you so much for coming. Thank you, Louise, for organising this today. Thank you, James and Anna, for your honesty and bravery to come and share stories about how it is for you, because it is so tough out there. And thank you for everybody in Nottingham making this possible, this support to be widely available, free of charge, to the whole of the primary care and wider social care family. So thank you so much.